Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you why I love the Presonus STUDIOLIVE Series 3 mixers, and I'm going to show you a couple ways I use them here in the studio. We're going to be looking at a mixer today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start honing your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and start looking at this Presonus mixer. So here is the Presonus STUDIOLIVE Series 3. It is a 32S. So it's a 32 channel mixer, and I have a couple different modes here. The mode you saw to open with is the one I use for recording. So I have this channel up here for the mic, and it runs into the computer into OBS for my video recording software. A couple reasons I love this mixer so much is because of the flexibility. I moved from a 22 channel Soundcraft board to this board, and the flexibility between the two is very, very drastic. This board is so much more flexible, and it gives me so many more options, opens up so many more opportunities in terms of recording, in terms of mixing, in terms of editing, video recording, everything. So the base way it opens up, we have the main mix setting here. So over on the left in the kind of bank area, we have all of our buttons here. The big blue one, the main mix, is the main starting point, kind of the central point in the board. So these are all the faders here, and you can see we've got 32 channels, which is definitely something I love because I can keep everything hooked up here in the studio, never having to move and patch in different cables or anything. So I have 12 channels here to start with drums. So kick in, kick out, a kick far mic, snare top, snare high, snare bottom, 4 toms, and a pair of overheads. Then I have 2 channels here for bass guitar, and notice I can color each channel too, so all my drums are blue, just like when I'm mixing. Bass guitar is red, so I have a DI and an amp, which also doubles as a vocal microphone if we need to track live vocals. I have a couple guitar DIs, a couple guitar mics, so for amps or for vocals. Again, my guitars are green, just like when I'm mixing in the DAW. I have a pair of stereo keys here, which is my top and bottom keyboard over on the right there. These are pink, just like when I'm mixing in the DAW. And then I have a mic set up over by the keyboard for tracking live vocals. Here is the vocal microphone here. It is yellow, again, just like when I'm mixing in the DAW. This also doubles in the room as a room mic for the drums here. Here is my stereo output for my DAW. So this is the only channel that's running USB. So one of the nice things about the board here is for each channel, you have a set of settings up here and then the settings on the screen as well. So for all of these settings here coming up until the stereo mix output here, all of these are running analog on the channel, and they're all sending to the main mix. So you can kind of send wherever you want to. They all have a nice phase flip. So if we go to our snare top here, I can flip the phase if I need to. Or on the snare bottom, I can flip the phase wherever I need. I don't know why we have 48 volts there on the snare top, but you can turn that on. The snare high is a condenser microphone, so I can turn on 48 volts of phantom power if I need to. Again, I can flip the phase here, so on the snare top, I usually flip the phase so it's in phase with the rest of the kit. I have all my toms here. The other nice thing is with the stereo pair of overheads, you can link them as well. So there's a stereo link button, so that way you can see both faders move together. I don't have to kind of grab 2 faders and try and get them to go together. I can grab one, and the other one will snap to where the first one is, which is pretty nice. Same thing's running on the keys here, so I flip to the stereo keys. You can see they are stereo linked, sending to the main, no 48 volts or phase flip. Analog input, which means it's something getting plugged into the back of it. Whereas if we move to the main mix here, you can see it's a USB input, which means it's getting signal from the computer from the USB input on the back of the board. The other nice thing I like is that there is a main fader here, master fader, right kind of in off center of the board, which is nice. And then I have all of these channels over here that I have for extra things. So moving from a 22 channel board, I would have ended here. So I would have been missing a couple different things because I would have had to sacrifice a channel as well for stereo output, and then the main fader coming off of a Soundcraft board. Here I have about 8 channels extra. For one of them actually runs my mic, so you can see here this is the mic signal for me talking. That's the same fader that comes up in one of my mix channels that sends into my video recording software. So I use one of these channels on the end here for video recording for this microphone here. Now we can jump into some of the settings up top. So we'll take a look here at the video microphone so you can kind of see what we're using here. The nice thing I love about this board is that there's built-in EQ, compression, and a gate. So coming from the 22 channel board before, all I had was a built-in EQ channel strip. All of these STUDIOLIVE boards have a built-in EQ strip, a compressor, as well as a gate function that you can use as well. I don't really use the gate function on anything here, but I like having all of the different analog EQs. So here on my vocal, I'm using this Alpine EQ, the 550 EQ. And you can see I'm pulling out 2 dB here at 400, and then I'm boosting a little bit up top at 5K, giving the mic here a little bit of air so it sounds nice going into the video software. And all of that can either be done here with this knob, so you can kind of click and move with that knob, or you can do it up on the strip here, so you can select your different bands and then EQ them up here so they all line up with each one. So my low band is here, and then I have my mid band and my high band up top as well. So each setting you move to, this strip up here, these knobs will line up with it. So if we move over to the compressor setting, they all change to line up with the compressor. And you can see it kind of kicks in when I start to get a little bit louder. The compressor will kick in there, which is a nice feature to have on the channel strip. And that's on each channel. So each individual channel has their own settings, and all of these recall each setting when you click on each digital channel here. So if we go over to like the kick drum, right, I usually use the same Alpine EQ, and I can set my different settings there. Flip over to the compressor. I like to use this 160, which is one of the compressors that comes stock on the board here. If you buy the board, you can get that channel extension usually and import those right in, which is really, really nice. And for each channel, you also have your input as well. So you have your preamp gain, you have pan settings, so you can pan left to right, and a high pass filter is built into each channel as well. Another nice thing that I like is the board recognizes whether you have a line level signal or not. So if you plug a mic in, it will use the preamp signal, which is really nice. You can have the built-in preamps. And then if you plug in like my stereo keyboards here, it recognizes it as a normal like TRS input, which is nice. So it switches to a line level rather than the preamp gain. That's a nice feature to have. The other nice features that come with this board that I didn't have before with a normal kind of analog mixer is all of the different auxes, subgroups, and mix sends. So the biggest one I use most of the time is this one here. This sends out to a headphone amplifier that sends into the drum room or the vocal booth here. So I can flip over and you can see I send my main mix in here. I can send my video mic in if they need to hear me talking. It also comes with a talkback mic built into the back of it. So I have a talkback mic set up at the side of the table. All you have to do is press the talkback button, and then they can hear you talking, and you can click it off when you're done talking. So it's a nice feature to have if you have like a booth, or if they're wearing headphones, they can't really hear you in the room. You click your talkback button, say whatever you need to say, and then turn it off. So that's over here, the talkback channel. So I can send whatever I need into the booth. If they want to hear some of my video mic, or if they want to hear keyboards or bass guitar or whatever, anything that's going, I can make that mix here. And then when I flip back to the main mixes, which is what I hear, you can see none of that is there. So all of these different mixes are completely flexible, completely recallable. They don't overwrite any of the other mixes, which is a nice feature to have. And then on the other side of things, the other pair of mixes I use, so that's a stereo mix at the bottom, 1516 runs in the headphone amp, and all of those are outputs on the back of the board. The other one I use is Mix 3 and 4 that sends USB into the computer for my video recording. So the only thing I send to this one is I send the main, which is a nice feature to have here. So if we go back on matrices, so those are green ones, you can set each of these different auxes to a sub, a matrix, or an aux, a regular aux out of the back. With matrices, you can actually send the signal from your main. So my main mix signal sends everything to here, so it's sending a complete copy to here, as well as my video mic. So my video mic doesn't come up in my mix, so I'm not hearing myself talk back through the monitors, or it's not feeding back into the monitors. I can send this microphone here to you guys, so you can see I can mute it. So that comes up there, which is a nice feature to have. So this is usually what I have up when I'm shooting videos. So if I play the music, I can mute my microphone there, and you guys don't hear my microphone or hear it coming back out of the speakers there. And then this mix, again, just sends back into the computer there. And those are the same settings we talked about. It's also a touchscreen, if you didn't notice, the EQ and the compression there. Those are pretty much all of the features I use on the board day to day, day in and day out. There are effects settings down here as well. So we have 4 different effects. You can see I keep them muted up here. So I have settings preset for these, and I have kind of things sent to different ones. So usually all the vocals are sent to the reverb for live band rehearsals or for vocal tracking, excuse me. And I can just reach up and unmute the reverb if they want to hear it inside the booth. So I have all of those preset. All you do is you can click those down here, choose your different setting up here. So just click your drop down and pick which one you want. And then you kind of just send each thing to it. So you have a master fader for each effect, as well as you can send each individual track to it. And then again, you have master mutes up here, which is a really nice feature, because if they want reverb in the booth, all I have to do is reach up and hit mute, and they have reverb in the booth, which is really nice. And again, there's 4 different ones there. I really only use the first one for a kind of slapback delay, and then a reverb as well there. Let's see, I'm pretty sure that's most of everything. We can talk about the DAW mode in another video, but that's something I use every now and then. It's a nice feature to have with this board. If you click DAW mode, it will pull up everything inside your DAW. I'm not sure I have it set up at the moment, no. If you run an Ethernet cable out the back, so run it like a control surface, when you click this DAW mode button, it will duplicate everything you have inside your DAW. So all of your faders inside of Studio One will line up here, and they'll all come up. You can move it like a control surface, which is really, really nice as well. The only other thing I really use is presets and storing different things. So if we go to our different scenes here, you can save settings on the board. So if I had a balance built up that I was using, I could save it. I could store it inside the board. So next time if I was recording the same band, I could recall that same session on the board, those same balances, and be ready to go a lot quicker than having to set a bunch of different levels every time the same band comes in to record. I can save vocal levels or headphone levels for certain artists when I'm tracking. And again, you just store those, name them, and you can hit scenes, pick it, and recall it right off the board there, which is really, really nice. You have different MIDI settings as well, which is how I route my microphone back into the computer for recording videos. Really, really nice. It's just the flexibility of this board that I love having. You can see I could put a compressor on my mix bus if I needed, which is really, really nice. That's a nice option to have. But moving from a regular analog board or even another digital board to this board, especially using Studio One, it's a very, very nice interface, as well as control surface, as well as an analog and digital mixer. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that was an interesting walkthrough of how I use the Presonus STUDIOLIVE Series 3 mixer in my studio here, the different settings you can use, the flexibility it allows you inside the studio as a recording engineer as well as a mixing engineer. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.